Hello everyone, this is Ibrahim speaking. You are watching episode 17. Now we've gone a long way and by now our website is totally usable. You can upload it on a server and start using it as your regular website. You can enter new content, you can edit it. We haven't written deleting yet, but there's also another thing that I thought would be useful. That is to use services. The idea of services is what do you do when you want to import another library, something that's independent from your framework? Let's say you want to do curl requests or you want to do image processing or something like that. You're going to use a third-party library. And we don't want to include that with the framework, so we can use a service, something to connect your library with our framework. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by creating a service for the view. This way we can directly call some functions, some external functions inside the view that are independent from the framework. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, you're going to have to excuse me. I made a little more changes. I changed the homepage to make the links display a little better. Anyway, like I was saying, for services, I want to use this feature of PHP where I can use an object like an array. The reason I want to do that is because I want to be able to just add whatever services the user has, and I want to have them accessible as an array. For example, we can call view and then Markdown, and from there we can make use of all the Markdown features and so on. So it's just going to be a little it's just visually more easier to maintain. That's all really. Like you see, I went to php.com because I forgot how to implement that. The name of this method is called ArrayAccess. So all I'm gonna do is make my local view inherit, which here I'm struggling. I'm using the word, I forgot which word we use. In PHP we use extend. So I'm gonna extend this new the local view with this new object, a new class I created that implements the ArrayAccess. Is only a few functions available there, and once you get those set up, you can basically use any object as an array. So I'm inheriting from that, and here I'm just gonna test. Since the view is gonna be available in every template, basically we can make sure we can test it directly from there. Also, right now, today, I'm not gonna write it as efficient as possible. I'm just gonna make it work because it'll be a good idea to make the object reusable instead of every single view we call that to have to create a new instance of that. For example, if we have 10 templates and we reinitialize Markdown all the time, that will be a pain in the ass. So might as well just create one and reuse them. For now, let's see. All I want to do is give a value to that container, and from the view I'll be able to access that variable called yo. It's just an array. I'm gonna test those values and it prints. That's correct. All right, it's implemented. Since the code is available, you can go and check. I added it with the view inside the view folder next to local view, called it array object access. Yeah, not the best name, but it'll work for now. Alright, so I'm just gonna change the rules a little bit on how it checks. Basically, when you access an array, it calls it function, offset, whatever, and it checks if that value exists inside a variable that I defined myself. I have decided to call it container, and from there, if it exists, good, use that value. Otherwise, just throw an error. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be making sure it throws an error to stop the whole application. We want to make sure that it's always correct. If it's not correct, stop the application. Okay, so I'm going to create this folder here called inside the model called services, and this is where we're going to put all our services. If we're using Markdown or some other sort of parsing mechanism, or if we want to use curl or anything really, we're going to make use of it right here. I haven't really decided how this is going to work entirely because here I'm making use of them inside the templates, but my main goal was to use it inside the controller, but we'll get to that also in the near future. Here I'm just going to create a quick syntax of like a format, how we can define our how we can define our services. I decided to go with this format, just an array, and I give it an internal class called class, and hopefully I can do like method in the future so we can pass some extra values in there. But for now, just class is enough. And here, I mean, I'm not gonna really implement Markdown yet. I just want to have a placeholder for it. In the future, I can download the PHP implementation of Markdown and just pass it here. That's what I have on my current framework. All I do is reuse what already exists. It's never really a good idea to reverse engineer everything. Like stuff like Markdown is a standard. It's established already. If you wanna, sure, if you can do it for as an exercise, but to tell you the truth, it's too complex even for me. I don't want to go and try to figure out how to parse stuff and all. Like you remember, I said what matters is really to have our framework work and be able to write blog posts and so on. Hopefully in the future, once this blog is complete, we can tackle another subject, like try to do not just a blog, but any type of other website, something more complicated. Because a blog is really the basic. It's a CRUD application, really. Create, read, update, delete. That's all really. We even didn't do delete yet because actually I don't like deleting stuff because you never know, things can go wrong. So my usual way of deleting stuff is just marking it as deleted and keeping it there. You never know, you might need it in the future. Or you might, like, if you delete an article, it doesn't exist anymore. While if you just mark it as deleted, you can always go back and check different versions of the article. So that could be useful. Here I'm just testing this new syntax I created and see how, if it's efficient or how I can make use of it really to load all my service classes. And remember, because we're using namespace, it's very easy to call any class. I mean, to include it. We don't actually need to include it. We just make sure that we call the namespace correctly. If we define the namespace correctly and call them correctly, that's all that matters. Since we have that auto loading function, it automatically loads it correctly. Also, this place here is something I've been thinking about really. Like, what do we do with services we don't use? Should we define them all the time, or should we just load them all the time and use them based on just use those that we need? That's something I'm gonna change in the future. I'm definitely gonna go with the way of not loading them unless they're defined. It's gonna make more sense, and it's not easy. It's not complicated to do it. All I have to do, like you will see a little bit further, I'll create a new class to make them load, and we can just save them and not load them, and only at the time that they're used to load them, because this ArrayAccess implementation can help us do that. Also, you can see I'm struggling with names at this point. The names just don't look good. We can I mean, hopefully in the future I can come back here and rename it the same way I did a little bit of design off camera. I should do that. I should come back and rename things to make them more proper. That's the thing with the frameworks. You want to make sure you name things correctly, because like if something is established, you have a lot of users, you can't just change the names. If you have a documentation, you can't just change things, because a lot of people are using it and they're used to it. Even if it's crappy, you have to go with it. Like a lot of things about PHP that people complain about PHP, this is the problem. Like in the beginning, they name things some way, and now people know the mistakes they made, so they start using the mistakes. But now, if you decide to fix that mistake, you're gonna break a lot of applications. Anyway, we're almost there. I have this implementation almost ready. I called it inside the template, but it didn't work. That's because I haven't called the service yet. All I did was include it. Now it's time to define it. I'm gonna change this in the future, where like in the future I'm just gonna have like the construct to get the list of files, and later I can load them. I will load them as they're needed, but here you see, like inside the construct, not only I load the files, but I also instantiate them. And you can see like those names are not really well made. But anyway, it works for now. So container, and I'm gonna call, oh, well, I deleted that. I'm gonna call a method that I haven't defined yet and define it in the future. Well, in the near future. This could work here, but since I named these with my own syntax, I have to make sure first I convert it to a good namespace. So that's a method I'm going to be using, instantiate. It doesn't exist, I'll define it further down. So I'm going to instantiate all the objects, all the classes inside the services, and then once they're called, I'll use them. Of course, that's not very efficient, even though we have a small application. But yeah, in the future, it'll make more sense if we move that to another, to like call that instantiate function only when we use the object. Here, what I'm going to do is just explode that string, and with the semicolon as a delimiter, no, just a colon as a delimiter, and then from that I can rewrite the correct namespace, and from there I can just, let's see, yeah, from here I can just instantiate that object called class name, whatever the name is. All right, so here I can test if the container has the correct values, and it does. We have Markdown and it's instantiated. All right, so now you can see inside here that it says Markdown, like I put in the example, Markdown on top. That's it, really. All right, this part, the services work. In the future, we can implement more services as we need. For now, I just wanted to make another quick change. Right now, it doesn't matter if the articles are published or not. It just displays. So I want to make sure that on our queries that we check that value to make sure that if an article is not published, do not show it. So that all that is required for that is to add them in the query. Just make sure that if status equals published, I use that variable called status published or status draft to make sure that they are published first before we publish them. And also, while working on this, I discovered a little bug in here in my admin. It's not really a bug, but it's more, well, it is a bug. I typed the wrong name, field name, to check for published or unpublished. If you saw this earlier in my previous videos, yeah, because it's been there for a while. I just didn't notice. And you see me struggling like usual. Save, and it doesn't work. So right here, I named it content instead of publish. So that was the problem. So now when I save, it should not show the article. I'm making sure inside edit and add that it's correct. There you go. It doesn't work now. It works. It doesn't show the article. And also there's another bug I have. Like, I want to make sure that when the articles are published, like the time is published, so then we show the article. If I say publish on Tuesday, you better show it on Tuesday. But we have, like before, on Monday, you shouldn't show it. But right now, since like in this query, I wrote now. Now is a MySQL function, and my computer is set to Los Angeles time, while our application is set to UTC time. So that's a problem. Now is 7 hours ahead. Wait, no. Now in MySQL is 7 hours late because that's Los Angeles time, while the application runs on UTC. Yeah, so the way to deal with that is to create the date inside. Yeah, there you go. That's where I set the time zone. Okay, so yeah, I set the time using PHP, which will set it to UTC time, so the comparison will be UTC. I'll have to mention that inside the date published. or like just say that the natural format is UTC. Alright, I guess that's it for today. Just those two things. We created our service and then we fixed the dates and publishing time, making sure that our article only appear when we want them to. Other than that, it doesn't show. Alright, thank you for watching. That's it for today. I hope you learned a few interesting things, and I also hope that you like the new design. I made that design off camera, but you know, if you have any suggestion and anything you think or anything you want to know about these designs, or you want to suggest something, feel free to add that in the comment section. Otherwise, please don't forget to leave that thumbs up to make this video more viewable to others. Alright, thank you for watching, and you will see me next time. Alright, bye.